Hi, today we're going to take a look at using Photoshop channels to cut out a subject to use for a quick background composite. Hi, my name is William Beem. On a previous video, I showed you how you could make a quick background composite without any selections at all, but that doesn't work in every case. Sometimes you do need to make a selection. Today we're going to look at how we can do that using channels. So we've got a model here shot on, basically it's a white background that turned gray simply because we didn't light it. What we want to do is in Photoshop, go over to our channels and take a look at each of the different channels. And what we're looking for is an amount of contrast. Typically, the blue one seems to work best for me. And what you want to do is you want to make a mask that is going to be black or white. If you have shades of gray, that's all going to be part of your mask. And it means that your subject isn't really cut out of the background. So what I'm going to do first is I don't want to mess with my channels. We're just simply going to make a copy of this. We're going to right click and hit duplicate channel. Let's say OK. And that's the one we're going to work with. In order to increase the contrast, I'm going to hit Command L on a Mac and just kind of start slowly bringing in this slider. So you can see the background is just getting a little lighter at each time. And I want to get it to where it is a white background as much as possible. There may be some areas that are still going to be not 100% white. We can deal with that. You can see over here, we've got pretty much white. On this side, it's still a little bit of gray. So I'm going to try and bring this in just a little bit further. And that looks pretty good. But we're starting over here. You can see these fine little hairs. We don't want to lose that. And the other issue is if you look down here at her shoulder, we want to try and keep some separation on the edge. Everything inside, I don't care about. This is just going to be a mask anyway. So we're not going to have any detail that we're worried about there. So I'm going to go over here and start bringing my blacks in. And you can tell, if you're looking at the edges, that's starting to bring out the detail on those little fine hairs. And it's giving me a little bit of an edge to work with on kind of on her shoulder over here. There's still not too much here, but there's enough that we can kind of work with it. But what I'm looking at is the hair, and I want to see if I've crushed it too far. You can move your midtones around, but I think I've still got enough detail on her hair, and my background is pretty much white. Up here, I may have to clean up a few things, but that's easy enough to deal with. So I'm going to hit OK, and that's really all I need to do. I'm going to hold down my Command key and click on this to create a selection. This is not the selection I want. It is exactly the opposite. So I'm going to come to Select, Inverse, and we're going to work with that. So let's go ahead and go back to our layers. Actually, let me click on RGB. We'll go back to our layers. I'm going to bring up a mask. And now you can see our selection. All the stuff that was white in that channel is right here. We need to go ahead and paint that in with white. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the letter X to change my foreground color. And we'll zoom in a little bit. And we can just start painting on our mask. Let me bring up my brush. And as you can see, actually I need to bring up my flow a little bit. Make my brush a little bit larger. So you can see we're bringing our face right back in. This is the easy part. Anything in the middle is just coloring with wild abandon. You don't even have to worry too much about anything except for staying within the outer edge of the lines. So I'm going to bring that up a little bit. Make a bigger brush. Just going to do this. I want to be very careful about these transparent areas. I don't want to color over there because that kind of defeats the whole purpose of having a mask in the first place. And you can also see the detail on her dress here. I want to make sure we bring all that back in. And if you're not sure if you're getting your mask or not, hold down the Option key, click on the mask, and you can see what you're painting. Now, you can see over here on her arm, this is where we were talking about with the detail. And also, up here, you can see this is the old section that we couldn't quite get completely white. So I can go ahead and hit the X key, turn my color to black, and we'll just paint that away. We'll come down here. We'll do the same thing. Matter of fact, I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller just to make sure I can have a little bit of control. And it's kind of that simple. Now, the fun part, though, as I said, is the detail. I'm going to go ahead, change my brush, and I want to have a hard edge brush this time around. So go ahead, something like that. Well, that was good. Hit undo. Hit X to change to white. And I'm going to zoom in on this. I'm coming in about 500% because you can see that line. That's what we want to keep. And I'm going to get myself a much smaller brush. I want to work with that line. And once I've defined this line, then the rest of this is simple. I can just go ahead and kind of color in here. And it's, again, it's kind of like kindergarten all over. Just go in there and scribble. As long as you're away from the edge. And with a hard edge brush, I don't have to worry really about something just kind of glancing over this. Now there's going to be a time where I have to worry about that. And we'll have to back out and look at this a few more times just to be sure where that edge is and where it shouldn't be. And over here, you can see a little bit of spray. So I'm going to go ahead and change back to black. And I'm going to get rid of a little bit of that edge. And this is the edge that's kind of like no man's land. Well, we'll have to go back and take a look just to see. That's where we're at. So, and I just want to get rid of some of that, but you can tell that her arm there obviously isn't going to have that shape. So we're going to have to, ooh, wrong color. We're going to have to go back and clean that up a little bit. And the same thing over here. So this is where it gets, like I said, it's the edges really that are going to be the tricky part. Now, if you zoom way out, you don't really notice terribly much. I mean, yeah, there's something there, and we're going to have to do the same thing over here. But all of this stuff in here, quick, easy, and you don't have to pay too much attention so long as you stay away from that edge. You can go ahead and make yourself a bigger brush, and you can just clean this up very, very quickly. Just like that, and we'll come up over here. And there you go. Most of it's done. So the rest of it is going to be detail work. And if you're kind of curious as to what it looks like, you can zoom in, you can see where you've missed some parts. But you want to put a little bit of a background on here. So I'm going to go up to my Adobe Paper Texture Pro, and I like this kind of yellow background for her. And I had that on multiply. I want to go ahead and we'll make this a little easier. We're going to make that normal, and I'm going to bring that below her. And that's kind of a quick look at what you're going to have. If you're not sure, where her skin ends and where the texture begins, on the layer with the texture, just go ahead and bring the opacity down, maybe 50%. And then you kind of got a nice view. Let's go back over to our mask because I'll start painting in the wrong place again. So you can see where that line is. And you can just go ahead and start brushing the easy areas and work within that line. And let's say that, you go over something a little too much. Well, it's not a problem. What I'd suggest is you go back and get a very soft edge brush. Let's go ahead and pull this all the way down. And change your flow. It's typically at 100%. I bring it down, anywhere between 8 and 12%. And we'll zoom in a little bit more over here. And let me change my color to black. And I just slowly start painting this away, because that way you can kind of see it build up as you're going through it. And then if you go over the edge, my brush is a little bit too big for what I want here. You can then come back over here and change back and just kind of build the inside up. And it's a little bit tedious. No one said it was going to be completely easy because, like I said, it's just the edges. Actually, I take that back. I've watched a lot of videos where they tell you how easy it is. And I've noticed that all of those folks that are telling you how easy it is really kind of avoid dealing with the edges. So this is where you're going to pay attention, is at the edges, and make sure those are just the way you want them to be. And once you've got a nice smooth edge, then you're done. Go ahead and select our paper, bring this one back up to 100%, and we'll see how it looks. Okay, there's more to a composite than this, but I'm going to leave you out here. As you can tell, working with channels is actually a pretty nice and easy thing to do. If you've got a little bit of spot like this over here, I'd say let's zoom into her hair. Let's go ahead and select our mask. And again, we've got our flow down about over 13%. I want to make my brush a little bit bigger. And just kind of brush over some of those spots that are looking a little bit gray. Then we'll back up. And that's looking better. So we've got more areas here that I didn't go through with a real fine tooth comb to kind of make sure everything was in place. But you get the idea. Make sure your edges are working for you, and then go ahead, color in the middle with your masking color, and then you're ready to go ahead and proceed with the next steps. Hope this helped. I'll see you again next time.